you should always try to know why something is to be done. And what is the process by which what is to be done scientifically. In other words, you might say, the Vedic way of life is a scientific way of life, in which you find out the reason and you know the process by which things are to be done. Here, Agastya wanted to know the Supreme and wanted to rush fast with the help of Maruts. Thought forces are already in his command, and he wanted to conquer God immediately, without knowing that with thought forces, God always vanishes. God, it cannot be seized by thought, and yet by thought he wanted to seize God. So Indra comes and says, this is the wrong thing you are doing. I will tell you what is to be done. First of all, realize that God cannot be seized by thought. You have to take the help of Indra, you have to take the help of Agni, and both of us, if you accompany you, then we shall be able to reach you to the ultimate goal. So, this is one example to show how Veda is a psychological movement of human beings towards perfection. First, discover the powers that you have in you, what instincts you have. Everybody does not have the same amount of instinctive life. Different individuals have different degrees of instinctive life, which is not normally understood. Everybody does not have the same kind of desires or some intensity of desire. Discover in you what is the intensity of your desire. Everybody does not have the same kind of thought power or expressive power. Discover what you have. Then, having known what powers you have and how many powers you can develop, you allow them to grow and develop them to a certain level of perfection. As Sri Aurobindo says, not to return to the earth as soon as possible. This is the teaching of many systems of yoga in India, to reach the Supreme as soon as possible. Whereas the Veda says, you should first prepare yourself, grow yourself. Artha and Kama also have a place. Don't simply kill them, but regulate them. And then you discover your powers of mind, of your heart, of your life, and allow them to grow, become enriched. That is why in India, richness has been always, a Vedic way of life is to worship richness, perfection, growth of powers, the fullness. And then when you ripen, this ripeness is a very important concept in the Veda. You should be ripened, enriched. And when you have enriched, then you go to the next step and move upwards. The aim that is to be sought in Veda is perfection on the earth. Not merely to return to the heaven, leaving earth pell-mell as it is. That is not the Vedic aim of life. Vedic aim of life is to make earthly life perfect, but earthly life, not earthly life as it is, but divine life. To make the divine life perfect on the earth. This is the aim of the Veda, and this is the Vedic way of life. Therefore, not to neglect physical life, not to neglect vital life, not to neglect mental life. Of course, spiritual life has got to be developed, because without that you cannot develop these at all fully. It is by spiritual powers that you can really perfect body, life and mind. And therefore, this is the harmony that is given in the Veda. Well, this is a very short answer to this question, because it's a very difficult subject. How should one live life according to the Veda? The message is, live life as quickly as possible, as perfectly as possible. Develop your powers, harmonize them, gradually have restraint over your impulses and desires, and by the help of the higher forces and powers, by their help, rise upward and then bring down the upper to the lower so that the life on the earth becomes divine. There is another question. I have read that one should love his enemy also. That is to say, should have no negative thought for one's enemy. What is your opinion on this matter? It's a very difficult question, in fact. First of all, who is your enemy? And of course, the questioner has said, one who is harming you, hurting you. What should be the attitude towards that person who you know is harming you and hurting you? In this case, which you said just now about Indra and Agastya, Agastya complains to Indra and says, why are you hurting me? And why are you obstructing? Don't kill us, he says. Don't kill me, don't kill Maruts, who are your brothers. And Indra is found to be your enemy. And therefore, he says to Indra and prays, don't slaughter me. In fact, all enemies in the world obstruct you because something is to be done in your being. This is the economy of the world. It does not mean, therefore, that the enemy comes to make you perfect. He may not have the intention of perfecting you, but if he is obstructing you, he can obstruct only because there is some obstruction, some opening to obstruction in your being. Therefore, there is an obstruction. So we have to understand why somebody is inimical to, why somebody is opposing you. This is a question we should ask first of all. When you are being obstructed, when there is a hurt being inflicted on you, you must ask your question, why is this opposition? What is in me that requires to be repaired, that requires to be perfected? Normally, when you find that in you conquer that element, that force will disappear from you. You will no more be there in the surroundings. I take a class, for example, and children are rowdy in my class, shouting, rebelling, talking to each other, not listening. Why is it happening? I have got something very good to tell them. I have prepared my lesson very well. I want to teach them very well. I want to teach them. I have goodwill for them. Children are not listening. This is an obstruction. Not that children are enemies, but they are obstructing my work. What is the reason? The Vedic vision is that you should discover in you the same elements which are to be found in the surrounding. In your own being somewhere, there is this noise. There is this indiscipline. And if you look into you and observe where exactly in your own being that element is powerfully working, you work on it, repair it, and you will find the obstruction is gone. This is a psychological experiment one can do. Whenever there is an obstruction, discover in you that there is some vibration which is corresponding to that vibration around you. And if you work on that, then that obstruction will disappear. You will be able to master something in you so that what is outside also can be mastered. There is a further point. This is an internal method by which you can conquer your enemy. But sometimes these enemies are not conquerable that way. It's not enough. So there is a further thing to be done. In fact, the Veda can be read as an account of human life, accurate account of human life, which consists of a battle. The Veda is an account of a battle. It's an account of the rishis who were in search of light, of the highest, and they found obstructions in the way. It is said that one story of the Veda, one legend which is in the Veda, which is to be found in all the corners of the Vedic literature, is the legend of Angiras rishis. The story is that Angiras rishis they are powers in search of the highest. Now, in this search of the highest, they are obstructed. Who are the obstructors? There is Vritra, there is Vala, there are Panis. These are the three principal obstructors. Vritra is the one who builds a kind of a dam over your territory on which you want conquest, so that you cannot cross it. Panis are negotiators. They come to you and say, yes, we want to help you. They negotiate with you. But in negotiating, they always play some kind of mischief. And they take you on a wrong path and they obstruct your path. Now these are the obstructing forces which have been described in the Veda. It's an accurate description of, a symbolic description of what happens to every human being in his life. These forces always come in our life, and we are required to battle with them. And as I said, battle can be done first by discovering within yourself and to perfect yourself as much as you can. But it is not enough sometimes. Sometimes it is enough, but sometimes the battle is even greater.